The surgeon gave me 48 hours to find $10,000. If I failed, my 3-year-old daughter could permanently lose the ability to walk. I called my husband from the hospital parking lot, believing he would transfer the money immediately. Instead, he told me our emergency savings were gone. He had spent them on a house by the sea. My name is Karen Mitchell, and I was 37 when I discovered that surviving military service had been easier than surviving my own marriage. I served 11 years as a logistics specialist in the United States Army. I had worked through evacuations, supply shortages, and nights filled with distant explosions. I knew how to remain calm when everyone else panicked. But nothing prepared me for the morning a surgeon showed me the mass pressing against my daughter's spine. Lily had always been an active child. She climbed furniture, chased squirrels through our Virginia backyard, and laughed whenever she fell. Then she began dragging her left foot. At first, I thought she had twisted her ankle. There was no swelling or bruise, so our pediatrician advised us to watch her closely. 2 days later, Lily stumbled while crossing the kitchen. By the end of the week, she could not climb the stairs without holding the railing. When she woke screaming from pain one night, I drove her directly to the emergency room. An MRI revealed a fast-growing mass near her lower spine. The doctors believed it was benign, but its position made it dangerous. It was already pressing against the nerves controlling her left leg. Waiting too long could cause permanent damage. The surgeon wanted to operate immediately. The problem was that the specialist worked outside our insurance network, and the hospital required a $10,000 deposit. I knew we had the money. My husband Daniel and I had nearly $32,000 in an emergency account. Most of it came from my deployment savings and the insurance payment I received after a training injury ended my military career. That account existed for moments exactly like this one. Daniel had recently moved our money to another bank. He claimed the new account offered better protection and higher interest. Since he worked in commercial real estate, I trusted him to handle the details. Trusting Daniel had become automatic. While Lily slept in the hospital, I called him twice. He did not answer. Nearly an hour passed before he finally returned my call. I explained the diagnosis, the surgery, and the deposit. For several seconds, he said nothing. Then he told me the emergency account was empty. I assumed he had temporarily moved the money. Daniel calmly explained that he had used our savings as a down payment on a coastal property in North Carolina. He called it an investment opportunity that could secure our future. My hands began trembling. He had bought a house without telling me. He had used money earned through my military service, while our daughter was already undergoing medical tests. When I demanded that he sell the property or recover the money, his voice became colder. Daniel said selling quickly would damage his professional reputation and create financial losses. He suggested that I apply for a loan, use credit cards, or ask my former military friends for help. I reminded him that Lily could lose the ability to walk. He told me I had always been resourceful and should figure it out. Then he ended the call. I stood alone in the hospital parking lot, staring at my reflection in a dark car window. For years, I had defended Daniel's missed birthdays and late nights. I told myself that work pressure made him distant. I believed marriage meant accepting another person's flaws. That afternoon, I learned the difference between a flaw and abandonment. I returned to Lily's room and started making calls. The hospital offered a payment plan, but the deposit remained mandatory. A lender approved me for only $4,000. My available credit still left me thousands short. 2 military friends offered whatever they could. Their help nearly broke me because people who owed me nothing were trying harder than Lily's father. Late that afternoon, Daniel's mother arrived. Eleanor entered the room wearing an expensive cream coat and carrying a designer handbag. I expected concern for her granddaughter. Instead, she asked why I had allowed Lily's condition to become so serious. The question stunned me. I had taken Lily to multiple doctors and kept the family informed. Eleanor knew every detail, yet she suggested that my work schedule had made me careless. Then she defended Daniel. She claimed the coastal house was an important investment and accused me of panicking. According to her, a responsible wife would find another solution without damaging her husband's career. She also warned me not to tell relatives about the missing money. That was when I realized they were not protecting Lily. They were protecting the family image. Daniel wanted to appear like an ambitious investor instead of a father who had emptied his daughter's emergency fund. Eleanor wanted the scandal hidden, even if silence delayed a child's surgery. I refused to argue. I told her Lily would receive the operation with or without Daniel's help. Eleanor left looking at me as though I had betrayed them. By evening, I had collected less than $6,000. The hospital would hold the surgery slot until noon the following day. I was considering withdrawing from my retirement account when Daniel's father appeared. Robert Mitchell was usually a quiet man. He had spent most of his life building custom homes and rarely interfered in our marriage. That evening, he looked exhausted. He asked me to follow him into a private waiting room. Once the door closed, he placed a thick envelope on the table. Inside was a cashier's check for $15,000. Robert had sold an antique truck he had spent 9 years restoring. The money was enough to cover Lily's surgery. Relief rushed through me, but Robert told me to examine the other documents. There were bank statements, property records, receipts, and printed messages. The coastal house had not been purchased as a family investment. Daniel had bought it with a woman named Vanessa Cole. I recognized her immediately. Vanessa worked in his office. I had met her at company events and noticed how easily she spoke about Daniel's schedule. The property deed listed them as co-owners. Furniture receipts, utility records, and grocery deliveries showed that the house had been occupied for nearly 2 months. Then I found photographs. Daniel and Vanessa stood together outside the house, holding hands. Other pictures showed them at restaurants and walking along the beach. This was not an investment. It was their second home. Robert had discovered the property by accident. Daniel used his father's company discount to order flooring and kitchen materials. When an invoice arrived at Robert's office, he traced the delivery address and found the deed. He confronted Daniel privately. Daniel claimed Vanessa was only a business partner, but Robert visited the property and saw their photographs displayed throughout the living room. Robert wanted to tell me immediately. Eleanor stopped him. She insisted Daniel would end the relationship, sell the property, and return the money before I discovered anything. Instead, Daniel took more. The bank records showed small transfers from our joint account into a hidden business account. Over 14 months, he had moved nearly $21,000 without my knowledge. The emergency fund was only the final withdrawal. Then I read the messages between Daniel and his mother. Eleanor knew about Vanessa. She knew about the hidden account. She even knew Daniel had used money from my military settlement. Rather than stopping him, she helped him prepare explanations. She advised him to call the house an investment if I discovered it. One message made me feel physically sick. Daniel worried that I might investigate our finances. Eleanor reassured him that I was too focused on Lily's health to notice anything else. They had treated my daughter's illness like a useful distraction. Until that moment, I believed I had a selfish husband and a difficult mother-in-law. The documents revealed something much darker. They had studied my exhaustion, relied on my trust, and used my child's medical crisis to protect their secret. Robert admitted he had remained silent for 3 weeks. His hesitation could have cost Lily her future. I was angry with him, but the check proved that he had finally chosen to do the right thing. I paid the hospital that evening. Once Lily's surgery was secured, I photographed every document and uploaded copies to a protected account. I changed my passwords and contacted a family law attorney the following morning. The attorney warned me not to confront Daniel. She explained that the property and hidden transfers could become evidence in divorce proceedings. If Daniel knew what I had, he might move money or destroy records. So I remained silent. Daniel arrived at the hospital later that day carrying coffee and a stuffed rabbit. He kissed Lily's forehead and acted like a worried father. Watching him perform concern made my skin crawl. He asked how I had paid the deposit. I only told him the surgery was scheduled. His face tightened. He wanted to know whether the hospital had offered financing or whether someone had given me money. I could see him trying to determine who knew the truth. I said nothing. For the first time in our marriage, silence protected me instead of him. The night before surgery, Lily developed a fever. Doctors warned that the operation might be postponed. Daniel stayed less than 2 hours before claiming he had an important business meeting. Later, my friend Melissa found a public photograph Vanessa had posted from a waterfront restaurant near Wilmington. Only part of the man beside her was visible, but I recognized his watch. I had given it to Daniel for our 10th anniversary. While I sat beside our feverish daughter, he was dining near the house he had purchased with another woman. I wanted to call him immediately. Instead, I waited. Lily's fever dropped overnight, and the doctors cleared her for surgery. The procedure lasted nearly 6 hours. Robert remained in the waiting room the entire time. Daniel arrived 90 minutes after the operation began and blamed traffic. The drive from Wilmington matched his arrival almost perfectly. When the surgeon finally appeared, she told us the mass had been removed successfully. The pressure on Lily's nerves was gone, although we would need weeks to know how fully her leg would recover. I cried with relief. Daniel hugged me in front of the medical staff, as though we had fought for Lily together. The following morning, my attorney filed for divorce and requested emergency protection of our marital assets. Daniel received the papers that afternoon. He called me 17 times. When I finally answered, his calm performance disappeared. He accused me of destroying our family while Lily was recovering. He insisted Vanessa was only a business partner and claimed Robert had misunderstood everything. The documents proved otherwise. Credit card records showed hotel stays, jewelry, expensive dinners, and weekend trips. A shared calendar matched dates when Daniel had told me he was attending work conferences. When denial failed, he blamed me. He claimed our marriage had become distant after Lily's birth. He said my military injuries, medical appointments, and constant concern for our daughter had made him feel ignored. For several painful moments, I questioned myself. Then I looked at Lily sleeping beside me. Marriage problems might explain unhappiness. They could not explain stealing a child's emergency fund. They could not explain building a secret life while that child waited for surgery. I ended the call. The financial investigation revealed something even worse. 8 months earlier, Daniel had opened a line of credit against our Virginia home. My electronic signature appeared on the application, but I had never approved it. The document had been signed from his office while I was attending a medical appointment with Lily. Nearly $40,000 from that loan had paid for renovations, furniture, and expenses at the coastal house. Our family home was carrying debt for the home where my husband lived with his mistress. For months, I had watched grocery prices and postponed repairs because Daniel claimed money was tight. Meanwhile, he bought custom cabinets, outdoor furniture, and a new bedroom set for Vanessa. Every sacrifice I made had helped finance his deception. Vanessa initially claimed she believed Daniel and I were separated. Messages later proved she knew about me and Lily. She complained whenever our daughter's appointments disrupted their weekends. In one message, Vanessa worried that Lily's surgery might force Daniel to sell the house. Daniel reassured her that I would find another solution because I was trained to handle pressure. He had turned my strength into an excuse to abandon me. Lily remained in the hospital for 9 days. Her leg was weak, but sensations slowly returned. The first time she moved her toes, 3 nurses celebrated with me. Daniel visited only twice after the divorce filing. Each time, he spoke more about money than Lily. He wanted me to withdraw the case and settle privately. When I refused, he warned that legal expenses would consume money needed for our daughter. He was still trying to use Lily's condition against me. The court restricted access to the coastal property and ordered a complete review of our finances. Without stolen money supporting the house, Daniel and Vanessa's relationship quickly collapsed. She stopped contributing to the mortgage and hired her own attorney. Daniel blamed her for encouraging the purchase, while she blamed him for lying about his finances. Their dream did not survive its first real consequence. Robert also left Eleanor. He admitted she had protected Daniel from accountability for most of his life. She had hidden previous debts, excused reckless behavior, and blamed others whenever he failed. Robert finally understood that their silence had not saved Daniel. It had taught him that someone else would always pay. 3 months after surgery, Lily crossed our living room without holding the furniture. Her steps were slow and uncertain, but she reached me. I cried harder than I had cried after the operation. By then, the financial investigation showed that Daniel had diverted more than $90,000 through hidden transfers, forged debt, and stolen savings. The court ordered the coastal house sold. Daniel fought the decision, claiming the market was unfavorable. The judge made it clear that protecting his investment mattered less than repairing the damage he had caused. The house sold 11 months after Lily's surgery. After the mortgage, taxes, and debts were paid, almost nothing remained. Most of Daniel's share went toward restoring the money he had taken and removing the debt from our family home. The house by the sea disappeared. So did his relationship with Vanessa. Our divorce was finalized 14 months after the operation. I received primary custody and protection from the debt Daniel had created using my forged signature. His employer also discovered that he had used company resources for personal transactions, and he lost his senior position. Daniel did not go to prison. For some people, that might not sound like justice. But justice does not always arrive through one dramatic punishment. Sometimes it arrives when the truth can no longer be hidden. Daniel lost the house, his career, and the family he had assumed would always remain available to him. Most importantly, he lost control of the story. Robert remained part of Lily's life. He attended physical therapy sessions and never pressured me to forgive his silence. He understood that helping us eventually did not erase the weeks when fear kept him quiet. That honesty allowed me to forgive him slowly. 2 years after the surgery, Lily participated in a preschool race. She did not win. Halfway to the finish line, she noticed a butterfly and wandered away from her lane. I watched her running through the grass on both legs, laughing as the other children passed her. In that moment, winning meant nothing. The $10,000 deposit had once seemed like the greatest crisis of my life. It was not. The deeper danger was how much control I had surrendered in the name of trust. I had allowed Daniel to manage every account because reviewing finances felt exhausting. I accepted vague explanations because I wanted peace. I ignored small inconsistencies because confronting them felt uncomfortable. None of that made his betrayal my fault. Daniel alone chose to lie, steal, and abandon us. But I needed to understand how I had become vulnerable so it would never happen again. Today, I know every account in my name. I read every document before signing it. My emergency savings cannot be moved without my approval. Those choices do not make me suspicious. They make me responsible for the life I rebuilt. Lily is 6 now. She swims, runs, and rarely notices the thin scar along her lower back. Sometimes she asks why her father does not live with us anymore. I give her answers she can understand without making her carry the weight of adult betrayal. She knows that families sometimes change, and that none of it happened because of her. Daniel once told me the coastal house would secure our future. Perhaps he believed it. But a future built with money stolen from your child's emergency fund is not security. It is selfishness disguised as ambition. The house disappeared. The affair ended. The lies were exposed. What remained was a little girl learning to run and a mother finally learning to trust herself. Sometimes, when I hear ocean waves on television, I remember that house. Not because I miss it. I remember it because it almost cost my daughter her future. Then I hear Lily running through the hallway. And I remember that it did not.